What's up, y'all? If anyone ever actually watches this, I'm just breaking down an electric organ that I picked up from a church over a month ago. Obviously, I took it out of the wooden casing and broke it down a little bit, but now it's time to actually go through and process it. Started a little bit. Each key has one of these boards. It's got its note. So this is F, and there's like a dozen of these. Each one's got a whole bunch of copper coils here. We're going to break off. I'm going to separate this board from that, and then we'll clip the wires and, take them off and get these coils off. There's probably like a little over 3 pounds of copper. I did 2 of these boards already and have a little bit of some wiring harness. There's, like you can see, there's definitely a lot of copper going around on this unit. This is all, straight up number 2. Goes into these, so we'll clip all those and remove them there. And likewise, we've got a wee bit of silver. This board here has a bunch of silver contacts here and here on all of these, and there's some copper coils there. So we'll clip the wiring harness off there, and you can see how fat that is. One of the cooler things, let me grab this guy, sorry. So each keyboard on it, there were 2, has one of these units, and this has a bunch of big fat copper coils at the end there, and there's probably some silver contacts under that, but yeah, it's probably a little hard to see, but I'll twist it this way. So each key on the keyboard pushed one of these levers, and then these gold pins that you can see here make contact with these rods up here. These rods, I'm not sure what they're made of. I have seen that some electric organs use palladium, so I'm not sure if this is palladium or silver coated or something like that. Each of the rods has a little plastic wrapping, so we'll have to take those off too as we get those out. But these long gold pins, there's a ton of them, and there are 2 of these units since there are 2 keyboards. So this is probably where most of the value in this would be, other than, especially if we've got some good gold from these gold pins, and depending what this is made of. And then we've got all the mostly copper from the rest of our parts here. So I'm going to start breaking these down. Move the scale out of the way because we don't really need it. All right, now anyway, I'll probably do this for like a half hour or so just to make some progress on this guy, and then I'll make a video at some point weighing all this stuff up. That screw is our wiring harness, or the wiring bundle that's mostly attached to this guy. And there's like 3 wires that go to each copper coil. From this board, mostly looks like resistors and stuff. We do have these old-time capacitors that are on here, and I have seen similar ones go for like, or listed anyway, for like $4 for guitar amps and stuff. Maybe I guess I'll clip these off, but that's probably the only thing on these boards worth anything. There are some other boards that have some good looking stuff, or better looking stuff anyway, so we shall see. I'm just setting these boards aside and breaking off the bits of steel so I can throw that into my shred at the moment. And then each of these has a tube with, I think it's ferrite and a brass screw. So this part is magnetic, but the screw is not. So I might do some hammer whacking and try to get the ferrite off so that we have those brass screws to throw into our brass pile, and this is just a little bit of steel, so we'll pry those off too. Right now, just connecting the wires that go to these copper spools from the other board so that we can separate that board off. So all these wires are obviously insulated, but then these spools, we'll just pull those off, and then those will be number 2. They are coated in something, and they're not all that thick, but this is all just solid copper there, so they're pretty dense. I think each of these, depending on the size, is 2 to 3 ounces. So those add up pretty quickly. I'll throw a couple of these on the scale as soon as I get them off, just to give an idea of what each of them are weighing in at. And then obviously we've got this whole pile, so yeah, it's all the copper for one of the keys. These pliers are stupid to use on that. So that's all those ferrite coated brass screws out. And then these guys are like glued onto there, and there's a plastic cylinder inside. We've got a bit of a chisel here. Just gonna give it a little smacky with the hammer, see if we can separate it. That's one of them. Just do that all around. On the other two, I did try to do it with just the hammer, and in a couple cases that resulted in a little bit of a mess with them separating and having to pry it off or unspool it off of where it had glued to the board. These boards here are just like a compressed cardboard. Sorry for the angle of the camera on this. It's probably not the best. So that's all of them separated from that board. We've got this good bit of insulated wire, and I'll deal with those later. I'm just kind of stacking them up to the side. Here's the other two that I've done so far. There's been lots of these little boards that I've already taken the wiring and stuff off, but it looks like they've got some gold plating on them, so I'm just setting them aside. The copper, go grab that scale. I'm not sure. Yeah, you can see that that's zeroed out. Here is probably the fattest one. So that's 3.1 ounces on there. And yeah, we've got the little bit of plastic, and these are little tiny brass bits, but that's not really adding a whole lot. It's like 3 ounces, 2 ounces, 1.3, 2.7. So yeah, some good weight as they for each of these. We've got 11 ounces for that one board there. So that all adds up pretty quickly. We'll just bang through a few of those boards now. Doesn't take all that long. This is going to be tedious to separate the copper wires from each of the brass contacts on here. And this side is just like plugs. We can pry those off, and not a big deal. It's like a socket. I'm not going to do all those right now, but you get the idea. We got the brass pins there and brass contacts on the inside there. So we'll pull them out, and then we'll get this whole strip of copper and clean it up and get it in there. I'm not going to go through that at the moment. This is, I guess, the main part. And it's got this big fat transformer and a smaller transformer there, and another even smaller one that probably isn't visible at the moment. But we'll go through that and get those off. And this part here, probably aluminum. Let's grab a magnet. Check. Yeah, that's aluminum. I think it's being used as a heat sink on there. And underneath you can see all the just kind of messy wiring. A little bit of, not really a whole lot on the goodies front there, but we'll take it apart one by one. And move it to the side because it's big and heavy and taking up a good bit of space there. It's a pretty decent old capacitor there. As I'm sitting here talking to myself, I'll give you the backstory on the organ. I was just browsing on, there's a little piece of brass held in by a piece of wood, so we'll take that off. I was taking a look on Facebook Marketplace, saw a posting for a free organ, messaged about it. It ended up only being like a block away. It's literally around the corner from me. Piece of brass. So, and this is aluminum. So I messaged, went over. It's a church. I didn't know it was a church at first, or that it was literally, I guess was doing some cleanup. None of the congregation knew where the organ had come from when they got it. It had been one of those things that was just kind of like always around. And it wasn't in working condition. Something was up with the electronics. So once it powered on, it would make a big humming noise after being on for like 30 seconds. So they just wanted to get rid of it. I came over. He helped me load it up into my truck. And I have aluminum ramps, so not the biggest deal to get it in there. Getting it out of the church was the hardest part because there were like 4 steps. I'm not sure what the bottom of this is. It's probably cast aluminum. So once I got it into my driveway, I just unscrewed everything pretty much and got it all into a few bins. And then over the course of like 2 or 3 times of the garbage man coming, I got rid of all the wood casing on the outside, and threw there's some steel bits and whatever I threw into loads of shred that I brought to the yard already. So do have a little bit more steel shred just from the remnants that are over here, but most of the steel has already gone to the yard. So yeah, they didn't really care what happened to it. I told them that I would probably part it out and scrap it. I didn't know if it was tubes or not. When I got it, I told them if it was tubes, I would try to salvage what I could. I know like musicians and guitar players and whatever, sometimes they're looking for tubes for their amps, replacement parts and stuff like that. So try to give things a second life if I could, but it didn't really end up being the case. I took it apart, no tubes. I don't know if there's anything worth taking here, if there's like silver contacts on this. Probably not, but I'm a little out of my element with some of the stuff that I'm seeing on these boards, so I'll need to do some research. And I'm not just going to be careless and throw this into shred or anything without doing the research first. I don't want to potentially toss something that could be valuable. I did this box here. So they're magnetic, obviously. I don't know if they're coated with something, but this makes contact with what I think are silver contacts on these spools. So this was positioned somewhat like this, and would go, and this bottom part would make contact here. And from the look of it, I think that this is silver on the bottom. So as we get this unspooled, I'll take those out and confirm. But there is a little bit of patina, I think, on the bottom of that. So that's cool. And I just don't know if this has anything coating it, which probably doesn't, but I'm throwing it to the side for now until I confirm that. Likewise, there were some metal pins, not pins, steel bits that when you push knobs down make contact with gold pins, and those were magnetic but gold colored, so I feel like they were gold coated. So I set those aside as well, even though they're magnetic, until I can look those up a little bit more. So, garbage shred steel, throwing it into a bucket to the side. And yeah, these guys are going into this bucket until I can do a little further processing on them. Get the ferrite off of them and have the clean brass there. This is just a brass connector going onto this board. Throw that to the side, and I think this is just steel. Yep. So I'll go into shred now. I'll just clip off the wiring for this, and then toss this bundle over to the side too. It's probably just tin brass or something. These are not magnetic, so keep those. And that can go into our box with other copper and stuff. Deal with this part later. I'm going to continue on with some of these for the moment. That can go off. Move this to the side with our other boards. This is our A sharp. Was. this guy aside again. Pull those wires off in a bit. Get our ferrite coated screws out. Bolts, screws, whatever. And let's grab that chisel, do a little whacking. See that this one stuck a little bit to the board before releasing, and that copper starts unspooling a bit. We've got lacquer or some kind of glue on those wires. So aside from the gauge being too thin, it's coated. So that's number 2. Plus. And that's just a drywall screw gun that I'm using. It did have an electric screwdriver, but I used it a little bit too much like an impact driver, and it broke. This guy's definitely got a whole lot more torque, which is good for processing this stuff. Right, that's separated. Put that to the side. couple of those over. Just gonna grab those. All right, there's the rest of those spools we got from that board. Some of the random screws that over. These are brass. Brass. Let's do garbage. E. Okay. Again, there's our ferrite covered brass bolts and our copper spools. I thought these were cool, how they're labeled for each. Ow, pinch my finger there. That's silly. Cool. So it's garbage now. And those are all of our copper coils for E. Let's see what those ones weighed in there. They should be approximately the same, but there's a little variance. Amount of copper is different for each note. This one's over a pound, one pound, 1.7 ounces. The first one that we weighed a couple boards ago was just under 1 pound, so there's some variance there. Obviously, that's not Bear Bright, but Bear Bright at the best yard in driving distance to me is at 490 right now. And let's do a quick look up, and we'll see what number 2 is doing at that same yard. Number 2 is doing 445 at the moment, maybe a little bit more than that. On the oh, dropped a couple. Good thing we're scrapping them. On the exchange right now, copper is trading at like 580-ish. Maybe a bit more than that, like 587. It is nice to see that the yards are increasing their prices accordingly. A couple of the closer yards haven't yet, and they're still at like $350 for Bear Bright, at least on their websites. And most of the yards don't even post their numbers online, so finding one that actually does and updates it regularly, not the most common thing. But that spread between $350 a pound for Bear Bright versus $490, it's pretty huge. I can understand yards being slow to update their pricing given all the volatility and stuff to protect their margins. But with the amount that copper has risen over the last couple months, the yards aren't offering a competitive rate. I'd rather just sit on it and wait. So I'm in no rush to get this moved off. I'll do steel loads frequently. Just fill up the truck and get rid of it as soon as I can. And then as stuff like this comes in, or as I pull motors out of things, just kind of set those to wait for a rainy day to either strip wire or deal with some transformers and motors and stuff like that. And I've got a good bit of aluminum now that I need to take out to the yard, but the yard that has the best rates on aluminum near me, it's probably like a 30-35 minute drive, so I've been waiting for it to be worth it. And I've got about a truckload of aluminum right now, and they're paying 90 cents a pound for extruded, so and they pay 90 cents, and the other yards are only paying like 50 cents a pound for extruded. It's worth it when you got that kind of volume to drive a little bit further. All right, there's 4, but I dropped like 3 on the ground. Let's find those. All right, I think I got them all for that board. Out of curiosity, let's weigh this one too. So the last one weighed in at 1 pound, 1.7 ounces. That was E. This is F. And that one's a lot less. Or maybe that was G sharp. G sharp. And it's only 9.3 ounces. So yeah, definitely good variance. This is definitely a better one. So C. See this fat coil and these two. This one's definitely going to be over a pound. So let's do this guy and then weigh it up. Right, got that separated there. Pile. Excuse me. All right, let's bring these off. Oh, pull these first. All right, now we can do some hammer smackies. A little bit of the compressed cardboard stuck to there. That'll be easy enough to peel off. And we do have to take these plastic cylinders out of the middle too. It won't be a huge deal. All right. Let's weigh up C. So that's zeroed out. 5, 9, 11, 12, 15. Dang. I was sure that was going to clock in over a pound. 15 ounces, 15.8 ounces. Super close. And we gotta take off a few, maybe an ounce, maybe a little less than an ounce for the plastic and whatever. All right, so I lost 2 of these overboard on the back side, and I got 2 there. Let's get through a little bit of this stuff. I already started clipping this one, I guess. And part of why I'm processing this now, aside from prices of copper and stuff being great, is these take up a lot of space. If I can break them down a bit, get them into a smaller bin, or separate them out into their proper bins, you know, for aluminum, various grades of copper, and whatever, I can make progress on cleaning up this basement, which, from what you can see, yeah, it's quite messy at the moment. In the middle of remodeling too, pulling the walls down so that I can insulate. And fit. Just use the pliers instead of switching a bit. See, these are brass or copper on the tips, and then we got the wires that are attached to it going into this big fat harness. This board has a little bit of gold. I'll show you in just a sec. Get these last couple nuts off. Sure, processing scrap is the most thrilling thing to watch on YouTube. Get those steel screws out of the way. Those being really stubborn. This guy should pull out. go. These I think are, maybe these are brass. I don't think I have a file on over here. I'll have to grab one. But yeah, I said I would show you the gold. There we go. It's a wee bit of gold there. And you can see it a little bit better over here. Nice that it's all labeled, but it kind of doesn't matter now. And then we've got all our silver contacts. See if I can get a little closer zoom in. So all these points here are contacts. And then over here, on right here, you can see those two silver contacts. So we'll get those all apart. And we've got our copper coils on each of these. Another piece that may have silver. I think this is a bus bar. I'll pry that open. There's a flathead. Let's see if I could get in there. Just trying to get in there without damaging anything. Hoping that once I pry this end, I can just pop out what's in the middle there. So I'll need to pry a little bit more. You know what? These sheets have metal inside too. I'm wondering if I'm messing up something valuable by even prying. All right. See that broke there? Wondering if that's asbestos in the middle. And we've got this fine. It's probably gold wiring. Gold coated anyway. There we go. All right. We got these bits, which are magnetic. There's this wondering if that's silver coated. It's on a mesh surface. Maybe that's got a little asbestos on it. I'll obviously go wash my hands in a sec. And like I said, there's this. This looks like I do think this is gold coated, not copper. So, or it could be gold coated copper. Anyway, we will unwind this and get it set aside. Okay, let's start winding this. Maybe it's silver. Oh, we still got a whole bunch here. All right, here's all that wire. Definitely looks more silvery than goldy to me. And we have no idea if that's valuable or not. And these were the bits that it was wrapped around, which we're going to dispose of now because I don't know if that's asbestos or not. And this guy just seems like steel. Anyway, I'm going to call it on that. Bucket of copper is really starting to weigh a good chunk. Nice having a hefty bit of copper there, plus all our wiring and stuff. We've got a whole bunch of insulated here, a bucket off to the side. Plus we've got, like I said, our mystery rods, and we have a whole nother set of these that still need to be removed from their housing, and 4 more of these guys. So that's going to be about 4 more pounds of number 2 copper plus all the insulated there. I'll do another, I don't know if it'll be a stream or if I'll wait and actually make a video that's not super long and boring, but we'll get this stuff broken down further, and then I'll start weighing things out. Hopefully I'll make a trip to the yard and they'll be able to hit these rods with the XRF and let me know what this is. Also, I think we've got some gold-coated springs here. These guys are probably gold-coated too. These springs are coated with something to make good contact there. So we'll see. They are also not magnetic, so that's good. Whole lot of copper in this book. Anyway, thanks y'all for hanging out with me for a bit. I know this wasn't super exciting, but I appreciate you.